Hi, I'm Joel Thomas. You may remember me from such grammar presentations as Sentence Creatures from Outer Space and Invasion of the Frightening Fragments. Welcome to yet another Writing 1 presentation, Monster Mashups. Fuse, run-on sentences, and comma splices. To follow along with this presentation, you'll want to have your pocket-style manual open. I'll make references of a couple places, and those will be posted in the slides as well that you can look and. So what exactly is a fused or run-on sentence? And those are both two words, fused, and then run-on actually is a compound word with the hyphen in there. They mean the same thing, but you're going to see them used kind of interchangeably in various places, so I want to make sure you know that they both mean the same thing. And what that means is when you have independent clauses, or that's another way of saying complete sentences, right, that have not been joined correctly. And so that is the problem there. There are complete sentences or independent clauses that can act as complete sentences, but they haven't been joined together correctly. And you can see our example here. Air pollution poses risk to all humans. It can be deadly for asthma sufferers. And you'll notice I didn't pause or stop in between humans and it, but I broke up the underline there just so you could see where the two separate ones are. And if you're following along in your book, you'll see this, that they actually identify the two separate independent clauses here. So look at that if you're not sure. And we can see they're joined together. There's no separation between the two of them, but it's not correct. They're run on together. They're fused together. All right, we have another handy flowchart to look at here on how to recognize run-on sentences. And this will also lead us into talking about comma splices here in a moment. So we ask ourselves the first question, does a sentence contain two independent clauses, word groups that can stand alone as sentences? If no, it doesn't contain two independent clauses, then no problem. The sentence might have other issues, but we know it's not a run-on. We then ask ourselves another question. If the answer to that first question is yes, we move down to, okay, are the clauses joined with a comma and a coordinating conjunction? And coordinating conjunction means it's a conjunction. It's a word that joins two things together. That's why it means coordinating. It coordinates two things, and conjunction is a word for anything that hooks two things together. So look at that list, and some of you learned the fanboys method on that, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So maybe you're used to seeing it as laid out as fanboys, but the same content there. So you ask yourself that question, and if you say, well, yes, it's these two independent clauses are joined together with a comma and a coordinating conjunction, one of these words. If the answer is yes, then no problem. If the answer is no, you have to ask yourself, well, are the clauses joined with a semicolon? And if the answer is yes, then no problem. They're right where they need to be. But if the answer is no, then revise. It's a run-on sentence. Now, that includes if you are joining them together with just a comma. So going back to that second question, you're asking are the clauses joined with a comma and a coordinating conjunction. If it's just the coordinating conjunction, or if it's just the comma, then you have the problem. And if it's just a comma, you have what's called a comma splice. So how do we fix these problems? Well, let's look first at the more simple fused or run-on sentence scenario. But you can see what happened here. Clee's painting seems simple. They are very sophisticated. Again, we see two independent clauses mashed together. So how do we fix that? Well, we add a comma and a coordinating conjunction, in this case the word but. And this illustrates that those coordinating conjunctions, those words that join things together, are actually very important in that they also show the relationship, because in this case you're showing a contrast between the two statements, and that's why you choose but. If you had another word, it would change the meaning of the sentence, right? Let's look at the second one. Started off with, she doubted the value of meditation. She decided to try it once. And here we have two actions happening. So we can look at that. We can say, okay, how do we fix this? Well, we add one of those subordinating conjunctions. And again, we looked at a whole list in an earlier presentation on sentences, and we can look at the word although. And so we say, although she doubted the value of meditation, comma, she decided to try it once. So that's the second fix there, is that you're adding a subordinating conjunction to the first clause and a comma between clauses. Looking at some comma splice examples then, we can see in the originals what it looks like. It's two independent clauses and it just has a comma in between it, but it doesn't have that coordinating conjunction. So let's look at two different scenarios that we have. One is that we would just add a coordinating conjunction. We'd say, okay, to add two independent clauses together, we need a comma and a coordinating conjunction. So I see a comma but no coordinating conjunction, so I'll pick one. So we have I was strongly attracted to her, comma, and then we're adding the for, she was beautiful and funny. Now, if you think that's kind of a funny way of saying things, if you chose to put because she was beautiful and funny, now because is a subordinating conjunction, not a coordinating conjunction. So it serves a different purpose. So if you had because there, you would not put the comma in. And we see the next example kind of goes that way too. We hated the meatloaf, and then they had a comma. The cafeteria served it every Friday. That's two sentences joined together with just a comma. In this case, we're not really sure what coordinating conjunction we would put in there, so we're going to do a little bit more revision. We're going to drop the period. We're going to add the word that. So we hated the meatloaf that the cafeteria served every Friday, and we're dropping it because we don't need the object there because that is sort of taking the place of our need for that object. So we hated the meatloaf that the cafeteria served every Friday. So you can see there again two different fixes for comma splices. All right. Thanks for your attention, everybody.